All right, everybody. Well, 10:02. Hey, Paul's going to be our host. So he's going to be kind of doing the background of this as we start. But again, I'm Jeff Caden with Deluxe Realty. We have our guest speaker today, a friend of mine, known him for, I think four and a half years back in the Mendoza days at Keller Williams, now 4 years with Deluxe, Lance Simpson from Commissions Inc. or Sync. Welcome, Lance.
How y'all doing? Thanks.
Hey,
I think it's been more than 4 years.
It has. It's been a while, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
while.
I
I
try to keep
consider
count.
I consider Lance a personal friend. Usually when he's in town, we'll hook up either at the Sync seminar, we'll go out to breakfast, something like that. He's a great guy. The reason why Lance is our guest speaker today is I consider this man an expert in CRMs. Like I said, he works for Commissions Inc. or Sync, but his expertise really is in CRMs in general and best uses or best practices when using your CRM. Also, the reason why Lance is here is he is a trainer that goes all over the country with his company. So tell me something about yourself, Lance. Let's kind of get into you a little bit, and then we'll get into CRMs.
God, all right. So, and I was just thinking about this the other day. I've been licensed for 20 years now as a real estate agent. And I'm like, holy cow, I feel like one of those, whenever you first start out and you're like that person that's 20 some years. But yeah, it was 2003 I got licensed. But prior to that, I mean, real estate wasn't my first go around at life. It was mechanical engineer. Owned a business.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I owned a business building assembly equipment for Ford and General Motors. So that's kind of what got that process mindset really kind of in play on how things should go, what orders, so on and so forth with that one. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest things was getting out of the engineering full-time into real estate. I transferred from Michigan to Nashville. So I've got a team here in Nashville now, and that was back in 2005. And I don't know if anybody's ever like upped and moved, no friends, no family, and tried to get into a sales position job. I mean, it was
Hard,
tough.
tough.
And
Yep.
then those, I mean, I don't know how long you've been licensed, Jeff. I don't remember, but
7 years.
How long?
7 years.
7 years. All right. So when I moved to Nashville, they like internet leads were like, what? I mean, nobody was doing it on the internet back then. I mean, it was roughly 2007, 2008, whenever we really kind of started. I mean, like when I got in, we still had to do everything on like the carbon copy forms.
Yep.
So, Rolodex, all that other stuff. So it was awesome. That's kind of where I started bouncing around from CRM to CRM and really kind of diving into working leads, because I realized my best opportunity going into a market unknown is generate leads from people that are relocating into my market because they don't have friendships there. So I did that. 2005, I've been in Nashville since then. And then 2013, I started utilizing Commissions Inc. as my main CRM. Became really good friends with the founder of the company. And 2014, he loved all the systems and processes I had in place and asked me to come aboard and start training a lot of their users. And I was like, it'll be a fun gig. I'll probably do that a year or two. And we're rolling on 9 years now, and probably 4,000 plus agents that I've been in front of training, and just really learning how to utilize a CRM and maximize it to make a lot of money.
Well, we went, I think like 5 or maybe 5.5 years ago, Paul and I went to your Sync University here in Phoenix for the first couple of days. And then we transferred from our old office to our new brokerage. And then we got brought in Sync right away and actually did it again. We went to Sync U again because it was included with kind of our new thing we did. And then we got to do the management back end of it, which we didn't get to do the first time. So your training's always been amazing. A lot of our agents don't know the value, I think, of a CRM. And I think when you're dealing with a couple people, when you first start, we can have, you can get a piece of paper or, something, you can do a chalkboard, you could write something down in a pad and you'll be fine. But what I don't think a lot of people know is by the time you get to 10 or 20 people, good luck managing them.
Well, and I relate with that one because that was, and I'm sure if they were around, they would say, I told you so, right? I think a lot of us are all the same. Early on in my career, everyone said, stay in touch with your past clients.
Oh, yeah.
Adopt the new clients, right? Build your sphere of influence. And you got to have a system to do that. I don't care if it's Commissions Inc., one of the other companies that are out there, or an Excel spreadsheet. You got to have that document in there. The old Rolodex and having it down in a notebook days, those are kind of gone to the wayside because, I mean, one, you're going to lose the notepad. It's going to fall apart, but you don't know when they're coming back. So you got to have kind of a system in place to be able to stay in touch with a lot of folks. And I just think about how much money and opportunity I've lost over the years because, like I said, I mean, I'm rolling, actually, April was 20 years of being licensed real estate. And I didn't really start organizing and maintaining a database until 2014, 9 years ago. So that's 11 years of database that is completely shot and gone for me.
Well, I come from fine wine and spirits almost 13 years, and then tobacco 17 years. So between the two of those, 30 years. Back in the fine wine and spirits days, we had route books and things like this. So this was before everybody's using computers and things like this, but I had 143 accounts. I couldn't keep track of 143 accounts without my, 3-inch thick route book where I had the contact cards and everything else back in those days, remember? And then we started getting into the laptop days with fine wine spirits, and my tinderbox, I had 1,800, 2,400 clients in my database. So I knew what they smoked, what they did. So I could, and that was kind of in the earlier stages where this was no mass communication, just the data was in there.
Well, I was gonna say it's just data, but data's only, it's pretty to look at, but you got to be doing something with it, right? And so, I mean, that's where I look at real estate's a little bit different because it's such a long span of time from the time somebody buys a home until they're ready to do it again. Now, you got those that, I mean, I watched my folks do it in 90 days on one of the houses because mama didn't like the house once they got there. And if mama's not happy, nobody's happy, right? But I mean, shoot, I look at myself. I mean, I've been in my house, the same house here since 2005.
Right.
So, you got both ends of the spectrum. So how do you take somebody in your database and make sure that they don't fall off, right? So that's why you got to have some kind of a system in play that says, hey, every day I'm going in and touching a different part of my database and having them organized.
Right. And I think with a CRM, that organization is the key, because when you have a piece of paper or a book, spreadsheets are a little better, right? I mean, spreadsheets are a little better. You can design it a little bit different, but boy, the ability to use a CRM and have things searchable by label, by source, by team member. I mean, my gosh, by so many different things at just a couple clicks, it makes it so much easier to just manage your day-to-day business, week to week, month to month, year to year.
It's ton, but I mean, I'll take it a step farther, and I kind of use the term pipeline because that's kind of what we have in there. But that's the heart of my business. I mean, that's my funnel.
Yep.
And so I go back to say, if I had to start all over again and I only had an Excel spreadsheet, my very first column would be what the pipeline stage is.
Right.
New lead. Have I tried to call them? Have I had a conversation?
Contacted, appointment set,
met, yes.
Closed,
I mean, those are all those ones that I'm like, okay, because then it's easy for me to go in and start segmenting them out, right? The hard part about the Excel spreadsheet is there's a whole lot of manual labor that goes into that one too, because
to create those fields.
Well, not only is it creating those fields, but I now I have no automation to go in and say, hey, send this information out to this, right? So now I'm piecemealing together, what is it, the mass email programs that are out there, right?
Right.
I forget half of them that are out there because I don't need them anymore. But
think of that, my friend. So you have your spreadsheet, your Excel, free. That's okay. But now think of how many things you have to purchase if you take it to the next step with like mass text, mass emails for different companies versus having a CRM that a lot of times has all that stuff built into it. So it's just an easy transition from like, hey, where are my new leads? I got to contact. Who are my attempted contacts? Maybe I'm going to send out a text to everybody, mass text and mass email. Who are my past solds? I forget what Sync calls them now, past client. Where you want to send out just a birthday message or just a happy 4th of July message to your past clients. I mean, now you have to export all that data into something else, and CRM just make it so nice and tight.
Well, it does, because I mean, so whenever you start thinking about that, so think about every field you'd have to build out on an Excel spreadsheet. You have their main contact's name. You
I'm already
have
out. Yeah,
spouse's contact's
I'm
name.
done.
You have anniversary dates, birthdays, kids, dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So what you gotta do is figure out what's all important to you, right? And again, that's where that CRM piece comes into play. But then you look at, I mean, let's say 13 touches a year minimum
Yeah.
that you need to reach out to them on. And so where's some of that automation? I mean, you start getting a database and, starting out, people are like, I only have 400 leads, or I only have 400 of this. Hey, awesome. Do you think 2 years from now, you're only going to have 400? No, I mean, that thing, it's like a snowball, and the longer
Right.
you go, the quicker it grows, right? So it's staying in touch with them and having some of that automation in place that even just sends out a happy birthday or just a monthly newsletter that says this. But
Yep.
ultimately, I come down and I ask the question, what do people really want? Do they want to read a BS email that we created, or do they want to see houses?
Houses. Go with the houses every time.
I mean, cool. You send me an email, great, but you have a pretty picture of a house on there or something that I can go check out. I'm gonna be more engaged, right? I mean, that was impulse shopping. I mean, is buying a house a need or a want?
Right.
Hey,
And I
hey,
think,
Jeff,
I think
can I hop in here just for a second?
Oh yeah, go right ahead, Paul.
So can you explain mass communications? Because for some people who have a CRM and don't have that capability, or don't know what it is.
Love it.
Yeah. So mass communication, I mean, back in the old days, I mean, like texting, emailing, all that other stuff, it would be a one-off. I mean, like earlier, Jeff and I were single communicating with each other, right? Email, texting, hey, great. But when I got an entire database and I got one message that I want to get out to them, I can actually set it so it's pre-programmed to go out Friday at 12 o'clock. One message that goes out to my entire database. But the cool thing is it's personally addressed to each and every one of them. So it's not like they're going to see this mass message of all these other leads. It's going to be personalized to that person. And it's automation at its finest.
And you can pick apart this mass texting. So like if it's a birthday thing, obviously that's not going to be a mass text. It's going to be an email or call or one-on-one. But if you just want to send out a happy 4th of July message or just stuff like that, you don't have to send. I don't have to call Lance and call Sandy and call Veronica, Julie, Mo, Jesse. I can literally send out that text to everybody through the system, and you can customize it a little bit, right? You can search out different groups and customize it, but wow, is that not easy versus just spending all day just sending text after text after text after text.
Well, and here's what I love about it is, and having a CRM and a lot do this as far as how far you can go or how easy you can make that automation. That varies with the companies that you end up going with. But like with me, I can create a birthday campaign and fire it off of a custom field. So if I know your birthday and I use that custom field, that's automatic. I don't even have to think of the day of your birthday. I don't even have to think about it, but I can also have that automation send me a reminder that says, hey, I just sent Jeff a happy birthday.
Right.
Right.
So a lot of these things, I think a lot of these things, what Lance just said is a lot of these CRMs, not all of them, but a lot of them, they're very customizable. So while the basic CRM is here, you can tweak little pieces of it and add some fields that are important to you and, utilize some fields and not utilize others. I think Sync does a very good job with that.
Oh yeah.
Very customizable.
Yeah. I mean, I like one of the things that I like about this, and I feel like most CRMs have this now, is that automation of creating emails, drip emails that go out.
Yes. Yep.
Time frame, right?
Agree.
And I think that's one of the huge ones. And but again, I mean, like, you got to think about items of value. What's going to be important to that person?
Yep.
And there's not a one size fits all whenever it comes into that mass automation.
Right.
Things that are important to everybody. If they own a house, get them set up on some kind of a market report that goes out all the time to them, right? You got to have some place that they can search around. So you got to have that website that they can go out and look for properties. So, those are just those little monthly touches that go out every month. Hey, here's your property values. Here's this. That
and I think
months already.
To open up another can of worms, and I don't want to get too deep into this because we've got some stuff to cover, but think about all the AI stuff that's going out right now. That's the big, and it's been around for a while, but you know, your company is big into it. Other companies are getting into it. That's another way of keeping in touch with your people, and like AI, Alex, I think is our AI. Alex
Yeah.
stays in touch with our clients when we're not there, when we're sleeping, you know, and our clients up at 2 a.m. working a little bit, you know, all this can happen behind the scenes. And that's another thing that you're getting with a CRM that you absolutely are not getting that outside the CRM. Period.
Well, and here's what I love about, and so this comes from more of like, not only speaking it from a team lead wise, but even as an individual, right? It's that nice safety net because, you know, Alex is communicating with them. But what I like about Alex is willing to say the things that we're not comfortable saying. And so, I mean, going back to with Alex, I mean, you know, we use Structurally, that does a lot of the commissions Inc. So somebody can go right structurally on their own. But the cool thing about Sync is during 2020, 2021, myself, Steve, there's a handful of us all on our training team that we dedicated 2 hours every Friday to building out every one of those campaigns on what's the best response, what's the best this, right? And the whole idea is to get what people to raise their hand, right?
Right.
So even if they're sometimes angrily responding to us, that's a response that we would have never gotten to begin with. So yeah, AI has been huge for us. But I think, you know, you hear everyone talk about, you know, emails going into spam now, right? Well, you can thank the internet marketers from the past that ruined that for us. So things happening so much faster. I think that AI is awesome, but I think we're gonna start seeing some legality issues with utilizing some of the AI or how we're using it and moving forward. But until then, I mean, that's been a huge saver for us. We've actually had people that have bled their heart to a robot.
Yes.
And then whenever Matt responds to them, Matt's like, "Hey, this is Matt," and they're like, "I don't want to talk to you. Where's Alex?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's
right. And so
it's
I
crazy.
remember with Sync, when you guys came out with AI, probably 4 years ago, we were on that beta testing program for you, and it was a little clunky. And again, AI was out years before that, but this is when it was kind of going, I think, more becoming mass. It was a little clunky, but now after 3 or 4 years of data and working on it, I think it's much smoother now. I think it's getting, well, you've heard all these things on TV where people can clone your voice, and it's hard to figure out that it's getting harder and harder to figure out that it's AI.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people expect it nowadays, but I don't know. I think one of the big things that as an agent, we get in our own way of, well, I wouldn't like that, so I don't want to do it. Remove yourself from the equation.
Yep.
Right?
Sandy, you had a quick question?
Yeah, what do you guys think of the CRI that we have access to, Property Base?
CRM? Yep.
I've never heard of it, so I don't know. I'll say this. I mean, the best CRM is the one that you use.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you know, they're all in business for a reason. But, you know, you look at automotives and vehicles, right? I mean, you've got your Cadillacs and Ferraris, and you've got, I used to say Kias, but dang, those things are getting expensive nowadays, right? But you know, you've got a lot of different options out there. They all don't do the same thing, and that's kind of where some of those fees come into play. So, you know, whatever one that you have, I recommend going in, learning it, maximizing its use, and you know, and just put a plan in place. Like, hey, this week I'm going to focus on setting up some automation. I want to master this piece.
So is this discussion today I came in late, sorry. Is it just about one particular CRM?
No. This today is not about one CRM. It's about all CRMs in general. The first part of our discussion today, because some people came in late, we were just talking about CRMs and in general, how to use them and things like this. And then over our next half hour after this, Lance is going to talk about best practices. So once you have a CRM, because they're all very similar, here's some things to do, or how to use your CRM. So this is not one particular CRM or not. This is any CRM you get. There's a lot of great ones out there. There's ones that are designed more for single agents, more for teams. This is just, we want to instill the value of using a CRM in most realtors businesses of something, pick something. And intellects, we happen to use property based. Lance doesn't know much about that one, but I told him initially, I said, hey, it's given to our agents for like $35 a month. And he's like, $35 a month. Why wouldn't you, if you were a new agent, why wouldn't
And
you
that
buy into
includes a
that?
website.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The value's good.
Yeah. I mean, to me, whatever CRM you have access to that fits your budget, jump in and use it, right?
Right.
It's the people that have access to one that don't use it that boggles my mind.
So I said CRI before, which meant color rendering index of light. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. That's okay. Yeah, no worries.
CRM.
Yep. Okay. So I'm trying to think of anything else on CRMs in general, Lance, before we go into like best practices and how to use it and maximize what it does. Anything else you think about with CRMs? I mean, they're just important. I mean, it's where we all are. You have 10 people or less, use a pad of paper. 11 people, get a CRM.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have, I mean, at least, I mean, everybody knows more than 10 people now.
Yes.
So, I mean, you've got to have some kind of automation piece that puts that together, I mean, whether it's just like a top producer, but, ultimately to me, you got to have a CRM that's sending out properties, because that's that bait that is going to get people coming back for more.
Right. And then for your CRM, Lance, you can get, if you're a new agent, I mean, I tell all the new agents, your phone has a ton of contacts in it. You can create a CSV file, I believe, and almost any CRM, you could send it to them and they will import those contacts or leads into your CRM. And then you can go in there and say like, hey, this is my dry cleaner business. And you can delete that. You know what I mean? You can kind of clean it up. And now you have everybody on your phone that you can start kind of going through and chatting with people and letting them know you're a realtor and things like this. And some people say, hey, man, that's fine. Take me off. But think of everybody that you could put in your CRM like that. Well, and you got a ton of people in there.
Well, you got a ton of people in there. But to me, this is where I kind of like cringe a little bit, though, because whenever I look at some of them, and they have a ton of data, but it looks like my daughter's bedroom. There's no organization. You don't know, like, hey, is this a past client? Have you talked with them? When was that last? That's where it all starts really coming to play, right? I mean, you go into a junkyard and there's crap all over the place. You can't find it, but you get somebody that's got systems and processes in place. They're like, oh, you're looking for the gas cap for this vehicle here? Go down to aisle 19. Look at like Home Depot, right? Everything's in aisles where they're supposed to be. That's kind of what we got to do with our database.
So let's use that, I think, as a great segment into best practices when using a database, because that's a really wonderful place to start. Because you're right, it is a little cringy where you move everybody in there, but it's a start. It's your baseline. From there, it's important to go in and start categorizing people, put them into contacted, attempted contact. Maybe they're a past client, start applying labels or tags, as people say. You really got to go in and clean them up a little bit. A source, where did you get all these people from? Is this a family member? Is it,
I mean, I like the source. The only reason I like the source to track the differences for me, is it my lead or is it one of my agent's leads? That's where I like the idea of that source wise. But all the other fun information, do they own a house? What's their address now? Right? What's their phone number, birth dates, anniversary dates, all that other fun information. Did I sell them a house? Right? So whenever you start organizing it, and sometimes it's best to whiteboard it to say, hey, like, here's all my people that I've sold a home to. All right, let's go ahead and get them in your database first and get them set up. Right. And to me, if I've sold you a home, I want to send you, do you guys have the ability to send out like monthly market reports?
I'm not sure on property base. If I don't know for sure. I would think yes, I'm not positive.
So this comes back down into the same thing. For years before I had a good system that did that, I had a Google spreadsheet that I would go out every month and I would go in and I would look at, Franklin, Brentwood, Nashville, all my different areas. And I would have different price points, like $50,000 increment price points, and let them know, back then it was 100 to 150, 150 to 200 days on market, average square foot, average sales price, how many sold, how many expired, what's the new inventory that's come out, right? And then I would just send that spreadsheet out to everybody that was in Franklin, everybody that was in Brentwood, right? So I had multiple emails. If I knew you lived in Franklin, you're on the Franklin list. Brentwood, you're on the Brentwood list. And then I got a little slick and I started doing the video. So this was years ago with the video that I would give those monthly market updates. Yep. Because everybody loves to know what's going on with those updates and what's going on in the market, right? And being able to dive into that data. So that's what you want to do with your sold people, right? And then you look at everyone else. Okay, well, what about the rest of my people that my sphere of influence? Am I showing any of them homes? Cool. We're going to go ahead and get them input into the system and set up. Then let's go in and talk about my sphere of influence. Do I have anybody that's my sphere of influence that I want to talk about real estate monthly to? Or just stay in touch monthly? Those are the ones that I want to get added into there and put some kind of a reminder in play to stay in touch with them. Call them, text them, email them, video email them. I mean, there's so many different ways of reaching out and communicating with people, right? And then ultimately, my last group, and that's going to be the biggest group, those are the sphere of influence. People I know that I'd love to sell a house to. They're not actually looking right now, but I'm going to have them in a whole other group, and they're just going to get mail distribution. And that's kind of where we got to start throwing things at the wall to see which one sticks to what person.
Exactly.
But, ultimately, it still comes down to buying a house. Is it a need or a want? And that's situational. If I'm relocating to Phoenix, I need a house, right? But if I want to upsize, downsize, that's a want. I don't necessarily have to do that. So once you kind of have that identified, it's easier to kind of target and set up communication for those people.
Yep. And this is not one system specific, guys, all and girls, all this is any CRM you're using for the most part will probably have a majority of these capabilities in it. You just have to figure out how to use it.
I feel like most systems, and I mean, there's new ones that keep rolling out, but they have ways that you can make tags.
Yes. Or labels. Yep.
Yeah. Tags, labels, hashtags. That's where sometimes you just gotta MacGyver it to make it work, to do what you need to do, right? And
so true. We've MacGyvered ours a couple times to get it to do some things you almost have to trick the system sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff. I mean, we've got the Cadillac system with what we use, but there's times I MacGyver it.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Until they can, to make it do what we need it to do, right?
Right.
But on the same hand, no, I mean, we know budgets tight with a lot of people, so how can we do? I hate spending money. I mean, I'm not one. I hate spending money if I don't have to. So again, I go back to that Excel spreadsheet. If I had an Excel spreadsheet, I would say, is it a new lead? Have I contacted these people? Where do they fall within my pipeline? Yep. Because I need to keep recycling them through, and then we get the people that raise their hands that say yes. Something that we're finally getting better at after 15 years of utilizing the system is, or how long have I had? 2013, 10 years of utilizing it, is actually trying to reach out to my entire database at least once a quarter. Right. And now the one database, I got about 20,000 people in there, right? That's not just me calling. That's everybody on our team calling them, right?
Right.
We're like, well, why would you want to do that? Because we're planting seeds. I call you and I have a conversation with you, right? And you're like, nah, I'm not really thinking about moving anytime soon. Oh, okay, cool. But then you go out to dinner with your spouse, friend, whatever else, and then you start talking real estate. And then you're like, well, you know what? Maybe. So that's where we kind of reach out, and that's where we get a lot of our referrals or people that have come back after. I mean, I got people that are 4,500 days old in my database that have come back looking again because we're constantly staying in touch with them.
Yep. So I've got a couple things I want to go back on a little bit because, you know, you've got just so much you're talking about here. Again, all very general, but you can use them in any CRM. So source. So a lot of CRMs will have it. They're set up a very similar way. Client, name, email, phone number, right? And then you can go as deep as you want to go. You can add did they buy, here's their address currently. Here's their birthday, all this kind of stuff. And you can assign some system call them tags, some systems call them labels. You can make a source. You can get super deep, right? Or you can kind of stay near the top, but there's some things I just think you have to have, right? Name, address, email, got to have it. Also, I think source is really important because obviously, like Ant said, he and I have teams with a lot of people. And so we track things a little differently. And some systems are better than that than others, right? Some systems are designed more for the single agent or two. Some are clearly designed for bigger teams. And that's what Sync is. But the source is important to us. And I think it should be important for everybody because we need to know where these leads come from. A lot of times there's some nomenclature in the system that just says manual. Like I threw somebody in there. Well, that doesn't help you if you're trying to figure out where to spend your money. What, if you're doing internet leads, are they panning out? Are they working? For me and for everybody I work with, you have to have your source of where did that thing come from. And it can just be, Agent Sphere, right? Just a friend of yours. It can be that, but you got to know.
Yeah, if you're going to track the source, you don't want to just do manual because, like you said, that doesn't tell us anything. You've got to put in there that, hey, this was a paid Google lead, this was a Zillow lead, this was a Facebook lead, this was my Aunt Mary referred this person to me lead. Right?
Referrals, yes.
And really, I mean, if it is a referral, you want to know where that referral came from because if you refer me somebody, I'm going to thank you and get you a gift card because I want you to keep referring them to me because those are the easiest businesses to close.
Yep. And most of the systems out there, just in general, will you can manually change sources or add sources or things like this, but then you can get into tags and labels and you can do like a tag or label, which is like a little check mark next to your lead, and the check mark says it's a referral. But we have like 7 or 8 referral tags or labels we use because it's a referral friend, referral family, referral sphere, referral other agent, referral lender. I mean, we want to know, we really need to know what's going on with our person. Like we got a referral, great, but did it come from another agent? Did it come from a family? Did it come from a Deluxe team member? We got to know. I have a Sync referral in there because I got a Sync referral from across country. So
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So how about you said the word remind? There's a couple things we're going to address. I had some questions sent in to me, but reminders. Tell us about that. What is a reminder?
So I'm not getting any younger. Somebody once asked me, they're like, Lance, what'd you do last weekend? And I'm like,
couldn't tell you. Yeah.
Right. And so think about our database, right? I have a great conversation with you today. And I'm like, hey, Jeff, I'm going to follow up with you next month. What system do I have in place to remind myself to follow up with you next month? And again, I mean, some systems, some CRMs have them where you can put that reminder in there and it's your to-do list for that day that says like, hey, today, here's everybody that you said you wanted to talk to. If not, add them, work off a calendar, add them to a task list in your calendar. But you've got to follow up with people because these.
But you said 10 people are coming up to the point of hard to put on a calendar to remind you to do. 20 people are next to impossible when you can literally go into your CRM and most of them call them reminders or touches or something where you go, hey, just, it's kind of like you send a note on your phone, wake me up at 7:30. Well, wake up at 8 in the morning and call Lance. It'll tell you to do it. So, because there's no way, I would never remember everybody I have reminders set up for. It's impossible with the system not telling me to do it. I'd never remember.
No, I mean, and that's where, and I feel like it's another one of those that most databases and CRM systems have
Agree.
To say, hey, you've got to reach out and do this touch one. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see agents do is they fail to follow up. They just
money's in the follow-up. Yep.
It is because, we all want that today business. I want to just pick the phone up, find that person that wants to go out, look at a house and write an offer today. Those times are done, gone. Are you going to get lucky once in a while and find a couple of those? Yeah, but you got to put that work in, right? But don't believe what the person says either. If they say I'm 12 months out, they might be, but they might make a decision in the next couple of months if the right vehicle or the right thing pops up. So, stay in touch with them. I always say, like, I've got my reminder set up based on their time frame to buy. 12 months out, it's every 30 days, no more than 30. They get into that 9-month window, I'm down to 21 days. 6-month window, I'm down to 14 days. 3-month window, it's daily to no more than weekly, right? And that way there we're following up with them. But then it's also following up with the right people. Because here's what'll happen is if we try to follow up with everybody, even the ones that don't deserve it, we're going to burn out.
Yep.
So to me, it's what was that conversation like?
Yeah.
Do I want to do business with you? And then I'm going to kind of work on follow up with you, right? Those are the biggest ones. When do I quit following up with somebody? I've got a 3-strike and you're out rule. If you quit logging into my database and I try to follow up with you once a month over the next 3 months and you're non-responsive to me because I'm calling you, texting you, video, emailing you, trying to hit you all the different ways. And if you don't respond with a thumbs up, got it, nothing, you just ghost me. After 3 months, I'm just going to kind of move you back into that recycled bucket of attempted contact. Like, hey, we're just going to have to prospect you.
Yes. Yeah. You don't get rid of them. You just move them into a different bucket that says, look, I might start reaching out to you every 6 months. I'm not doing it daily and you're not responding.
I don't get rid of anybody in my database.
Hey, Jeff and Lance, can you guys speak to how you communicate with them and when, like call versus text versus email, what that process looks like, if you've had successes with one over the other, that type of thing.
I will tell you, I 100%, and Jeff, you've been in my classes, I'm a call. Pick up the phone and call. There's no better way to communicate with somebody than on the phone. However, I've got some buddies of mine that are like, Lance, not everybody can talk to you whenever it's that time, right? So sometimes we have to text. So how I determine how I'm going to follow up with you, I ask one simple question while we're on that conversation. Hey, what's going to be the best way to follow up with you in the future? Call, email, text message. What form of communication do you prefer? And then we'll let you know, right? And if you ask me that, I'm going to tell you call. Don't text me. Because if you text me, I'm probably going to pick up the phone and call you anyway. So that's probably the best way to figure out. If you don't like texting, and I'm not a big, like, I'll text my friends and stuff. Jeff, we were texting back and forth. That's okay because quick little things like that.
But they're little snippets. But you and I spoke this morning at my house because we had stuff to talk about. So
yeah, exactly. So, but exactly it. We texted up to the point, and then we were like, hey, this is a phone call, right?
Right.
Here's where I was guilty in the past. I would text, and they would respond by text, so I picked the phone up and I call them. Don't do that, because then I get mad because they didn't answer. Do you know why they didn't answer?
Because they were at work doing something else.
Yeah, exactly. They were in a position where they couldn't have a conversation with me. So if it is somebody that texts, I text them and then I ask permission. Hey, at this point, it makes sense if we could jump on a quick call. When are you available to do that?
I love that. Love it. Yes.
I'm not a big video text person either because I don't have the looks like I used to. So I'm like, and I feel like I'm a dork on it, but I'm going to tell you, video texting has come a long way because people are now putting a face with who you are, and it's building that relationship even more, right? I don't recommend video texting somebody you've never had a conversation with, though. Usually the people that you've already spoke to, right? You've already got some rapport going with them. So, so sometimes those follow-ups I might be out showing a house or, got a cool pool in the background. And I'm like, hey, just out looking at some homes, was thinking about you today. And just want to reach out and say, hey, how's things going? Let me know. Boom, send it over.
So on the lines of call, text, email, I just got a couple of things that you mentioned I want to go over. On the lines of call, text, and email, I believe that the industry, the national real estate community will say that it requires about 15 contacts to really get in touch with somebody. And I believe that.
Yep.
And I do consider a call, text, or email. On our team, we do not consider AI or email text campaigns as part of those touches. We consider the touches from us call, text, email 15 times. Would you agree so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the thing that I see, and even when my agents tell me something different, I go into my CRM, which allows me to track what my other agents do. Most agents give up after 3 times. And this is the national average, and it is so solid. It's scary solid. So 15 is what we should be at, and everybody gives up at 3. And nobody believes they give up at 3, but the CRM, if you're communicating with your lead through the CRM, which you should be doing prior to actually a listing appointment or going out looking at houses, in my opinion, you should go 100% through your CRM because you can track that data. People give up too soon.
Oh, they do. So that's where, like in our database, we've created the system. I mean, you've seen them, the P1,
Oh,
2,
yes.
and filters, right?
Oh yeah, we do the same thing.
Like, not every CRM can do that. However, I do know every CRM lets you know when that lead logged in last. So if you have a tag that says, I've never had a conversation with you, but you've logged in the last 30 days, you're my top priority call today. And anybody that's logged in the last 30 days that I've not had a conversation with, that's my prospecting. So, to me, I think my days broke down into little bite-sized pieces. I start my morning out prospecting. Every morning is prospecting, do or die, it's happening. Like some people that are committed to going to the gym, they don't let anything get in the way with it, right? But that prospecting is between 8 and 9 in the morning. A lot of people are like, I don't want to be bothered at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, you're not buying a house, so you don't want to be bothered, right? Remove your emotions again from it. Why is 8 to 9 better than calling from 9 to 10? Come 9 o'clock, where are most people at in the mornings? They're at work by now.
Yep.
Do you think you're going to have a better quality conversation with them before they get to work or once they get to work? Once they're at work, they have their boss looking at them, their coworkers, they have their jobs that they're trying to do. So you're not able to have that good conversation with them. So, get on that phone and call from 8 to 9 every morning or 5 days a week, right? And then I also have another one in the afternoon hours that we do. Now, here in Nashville, we do 4:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon. That ends up being an awesome time for us. Phoenix, I have no idea what your afternoon market's like. So test it, right? Go from like 4:30 to 5:30. See if anybody over 30 days. If nobody answers, well, then go 5:30 to 6:30 and see where that happy medium is, right?
Yeah, I think when you look at some of these timeframes, everybody, just think about your normal work day, right? I mean, most people work 8 to 5, 9 to 5. I know everybody works every different hour. I get it, but a vast majority of people work 8 to 5, 9 to 5. Nobody really wants to be bothered before 8 a.m. in the morning, but you can tee yourself up for a text or whatever, because if they're at work, they might not respond to your text then, but they'll respond to your text later. People are off at lunch and people are home by 5 or 6 at night. Maybe they're eating. So there's definitely some times where you can, kind of, if you attempt to contact somebody, you're probably gaining the contact or you're gaining the ability to speak with them a little more than other times. But like Lance said, send out a text and they'll probably text you from work, because I don't care what they're doing. People are texting as they're in another meeting. I do it myself sometimes. Hate to say it because I have to answer people. But like Lance said, yeah, when can I reach out to you? Because, hey, what's going on, Lance? Hey, good, Jeff. How's it going in Phoenix? Great. But hey, what's the whole scoop with the coffee for closers? Yeah, we're not doing text anymore. I'm like, hey, I'll call you in the morning, right? When we get up, right? I mean, and he said yes, and we connected right away. Same thing in real estate, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's, so it was funny. I was in Seattle 3 weeks ago, doing a class.
Yep.
And there was a gentleman in there, single dad to 2 kids. And he's like, Lance, he goes, I can't call from 8 to 9 in the morning because I have to get them to school. And that's there in that time there. And I'm like, you're right, you can't, right? So what's plan B? Well, sometimes for me, I can call 8 to 9 and get the results I want. If you can't call 8 to 9 and you can only call from 9 on, you might have to call for 2 to 3 hours to yield the same results as the 8 to 9. I usually time block an hour and a half. The first hour is all about making the phone calls. The last 30 minutes is adding all my notes.
Right. Yes. And that's another thing all the CRMs will do. Once you talk to a client, if you think you can't remember to call them, you'll never remember what you talked about. So take a couple seconds, go into the notes part of your CRM, get in there. It doesn't have, nothing has to be even spelled correctly. You're the only person that sees the notes.
So for me, the practice I got into though is early on, I would put notes all in the database right away. And I realized I was missing out on a lot of phone calls. So now some of y'all could probably talk and type at the same time. I can't. I can write and type. So while I'm on the phone with Jeff, I'm writing down my notes. At the end of my hour call block, I'm taking my notes and transcribing them back into the database. So that way there I maximize my usage. What's interesting enough is we do this thing called Power Hour. And you've seen it. Have you gone through one?
Yep, I've done it with you. Yep.
It's 1 hour of dialing, and we do it. And it doesn't matter what time zone we're in. We do it every month that we do these things. So we're anywhere from Eastern all the way out to Pacific time zone, and it happens from 2:30 to 3:30 during our class.
Yeah, it happens. Well, they do it. We do it every day at your class, and it doesn't matter if people come in. Like in Arizona, everybody comes in from like Vegas, Colorado, New Mexico, California. So it's a big group, but everybody calls during that time slot.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, like our class could be in Eastern time zone. We're doing from. And what's interesting is we see about a 20% answer rate, and then the answer rate to setting an appointment is about 35%.
Right. All right. So I'm gonna move a little quicker because it's 10:50 and I want to get some questions and answers in there, but I want to touch on something really briefly, and then we'll go into that. And I don't want you to get too deep in this. So when you and I said, hey, we MacGyver our systems, right? We kind of tweak it.
I was just reading the note.
Right. There was a note in that. So Julie asked, and it's true because people are like, what the heck are you talking about?
Google MacGyver.
Talk about this for an hour, but give me like a 60-second, maybe 2-minute version of what does MacGyvering your system mean?
It means that I just go in and make it's all right. So for the younger ones, I think they know the word hack.
Oh yeah, hack the system. Yes.
So we're creating a hack in the system to make it do what we want it to do.
Yes.
I got to thank Jay over our new product guy over there, because he was calling all my stuff hacks while I was calling it MacGyver. But yeah, so it's just a way of creating a hack in the system to do what I want it to do. Again, I mean, and you know, I really know the sync system really well. I know a lot of the other ones as well, but you know, if they don't have pipelines, but maybe they have tags.
Right.
My hack to that would be creating tags for pipeline stages.
Think of sync, Lance, before they brought in the deals function. What the heck? It was driving me insane because none of our clients, we've done 1 deal, 2 deals, 3 deals for the same client. Well, guess what? In sync, once you put their phone number or their email, I think it's the phone number you can be saying, the email has to be different. Once you put that in there, I'm going, oh my God, I have another deal for that client, but they're already in the system. And I don't want to add the deal onto the first client. So we created the second client, like maybe with the wife's name, and changed it to her email. Yeah. So now my same client's in there twice, so I can get the.
Oh my God! The note and laid it all, and has a house to sell. We listed all their properties there, but yeah. Right. So but that's exactly it. So MacGyvering it for the younger generation is creating a hack, a workaround.
A workaround. And I'll tell you, and I can tell you through sync, and I'm sure everybody else, once they have enough of these workarounds, because you can usually, like, I can call Lance or Steve or my success partner, you know, Chris Nunley, and I can say, hey guys, why the heck does this not do this? Well, once, you know, X amount of people call them, it doesn't take a genius to say, hey man, this is something everybody's asking for. This is something we need to work and get into our product, which they've done with it. Now Sync calls it deals, you know, so you can add multiple deals under the same person.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, Julie's got a question.
Yep. Julie. So I'm gonna bring in Julie. So before she says, Julie and I went to high school together in Kingman, Arizona. She works for a different office, but you know, our meetings are open to everyone. So I invited her here. So go ahead, Julie, unmute yourself and give us your question.
I'm not tech savvy, so I had to figure out how to unmute. That's
There
how
you
bad
go.
I
You're
am.
on.
You know, I was talking to Jeff and have been for almost a year now about the CRM. I'm about 2 years and 3 or 4 months into the game now with my real estate license. And I've been so busy, I haven't made the time to get a CRM, but I really want to. But you guys completely lost me when you started talking about a client logging in, and I was texting Jeff, logging into what, to where? And he said, to your CRM. And I said, what the hell would my clients log into my CRM for? So I
Well-
truly have no clue what the CRM does. I thought it was just a database to put all my clients and numbers in so that I can send them marketing.
So
Yes.
most databases have a front end and a back end. The back end is our CRM. That's where we see all the data. The front end is the consumer facing. So have you ever gone out and like Googled homes for sale in Phoenix and gone onto somebody's website to look around? That's
Yeah.
what the consumers do. So what we want them to do is log into our website so they can go out and they can search the properties or whatever information it is that they're looking for, right? And all CRMs that are out there that have the website tied to it, with all the MLS data, they will tell you every time that lead logged in. So I can see who's the most active. And in fact, I think they'll tell you how many times they've logged in, when the last time they logged
everything.
in, when they registered. I mean, they
What
got
property they looked at.
Yep.
So the CRM needs to be attached to, like for me, I'm at Century 21. Attached to that, because I have a website of my own. I don't
The
get it.
website
Like,
of your own, do you have a back end of that website to see who's logged into it and people?
So
I-
yeah, Julie, the CRM is kind of like the Arizona multiple listing service. So when we look at people searching for properties, they're searching on average of up to 5 sites in the country. Like they'll use Zillow, they'll use Realtor.com. You have them set up on a search, right? Through the Kingman multiple listing service, right? So they'll look at properties that way. They may be going on to your Century 21 site, looking at properties through there. But if you had a CRM, you could get them onto your CRM site, right? Because the CRM site tracks things, in my opinion, a little better. But Paul and I say, if you're looking at 5 different sites, I want to own every site you're looking at. Like
okay, I get it now. Okay, so when I set them up on an auto email on the MLS, I want my CRM to be attached to the MLS.
Yes, it'll do the
that's
same basic
attached to
thing.
me.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I get it.
All right, so not to go too deep here, but this is one thing that we just started playing around with. And I know my MLS really well. I don't know a lot of the other ones, but we've been getting somebody in class every time to send Steve a search out of their MLS. And every time he's done it, he's been able to backtrack to find who the listing agent is within a couple clicks. And then you run a chance of losing that opportunity by emailing your folks the automated searches out of your MLS, opposed to them going to your database or your own personalized website. Something to think about. That was we started doing that in Chicago, and we were like, what? And everyone was arguing with us, and we just stood up on the screen and they were like, oh my God. So everyone then starts utilizing their tools.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting that you bring that up, Lance, because we've always utilized within our Arizona MLS, they have a new build function in there where you can do new build searches and set them up. We did not know for a long time that when you go in and set them up, the client's also information is being directed to the new builder that you're setting up the search on. So by you setting up your search, I think Paul is in RPR or whatever one of those ones that they do the new build search on. You've got them, but you're also sharing your context information with the new builder, and the new builder wants to. I mean, some of them find value, some of them want to cut you out of the deal. So we don't use that for our new build searches anymore.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I keep everything right in my database.
Yep.
All property comes out of it. I don't use, the only time I use my MLS only for me to do my research. But if I'm communicating with my clients, everything comes out of my CRM, because it's always coming from the same email address and everything's logged into them. Every action that we do gets logged in and saved.
Right.
So Jeff, let me speak to that. I'm going to share my screen for just 2 seconds here. If
Okay.
what Jeff was speaking to is the MLS, you can do a new home search. This search comes from you, it's by you, and does not get shared with the builders. So here, give me 2 seconds. I'll let you know what that looks like.
So we had as you're doing, oh, there you go, Paul. I'll
So,
let you finish this, then we'll chat about the other thing.
yeah, so it's, can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay, so it's right here, Ultimate New Homes. If you go up here and use this one shares your client's data with the builder. So make sure it's Ultimate New Homes.
Ultimate New Homes. Yes.
Yep.
Good job, Paul. So there was a question that came in on costs of some of these systems. So I can tell you it's all over the board. I can tell you if it seems abnormal, for our company at $35 a month for what it does is great because I think it's great because our company doesn't own it. It's through an outside source. So they're not competing against you. Keller Williams put Command Com in, right? If you're a Keller Williams agent, Command Com. Well, that's great. Great. But most of my friends that are Keller Williams agents won't put a lot of data into Command Com because they don't want the company KW taking your data if you were to leave or something were to happen and put that all out where, I like to have CRMs that are not attached to brokerages because I feel safer with my information. Not that they're not going to use the information to build the system better, but they won't use the information against me when I leave.
Well, and what I like with it is, I've had Commissions Inc. since 2013. That went from me being a Remax agent to
Right.
independent company,
Yep.
owning my own independent company
Yep.
to company I'm at now, right?
Right,
And
right.
my database has followed with me seamlessly because I pay for it, right? As far as the cost wise, it definitely cost conscious. You get what you pay for in a lot of the ones, right? But it's like everything else, maybe if you can only afford X amount and
Start there.
$35 a month, but that $35 a month gets you half of what you need it to do. Master that half, utilize it to make some money, and once you get a little extra revenue, upgrade to a little better system.
Right. And a lot of them, Lance, are like a lot of them are a la carte. So, it might seem a little cheaper in the beginning. You get a deal, you say, hey, I want to be able to mass communicate. Now that's going to add $50 to my thing, but you've already made some money connecting with your client. So then you can make the system bigger and more robust by just adding more money to it. Some of the ones that are, are all inclusive, but the cost may be higher because they include all that. Yes, Julie.
What do you mean you can upgrade to another one? I've got 2 boxes full of files I'm going to have to input for the last 2 years of information. How do you upgrade to another one?
A lot of times, so like I had Boomtown before I went to, well, in fact, back in the day, I've had Tiger Leads, Market Leader, Boomtown.
Yep.
I've been through the gamut of all of them, right? But they give you a CSV file, and what they can do, upload it right into the new system.
Okay.
So you're not really redoing everything again, but there's some of them. So I know, like with Commissions Inc. So we started off when I came in, we only had the pro platform, the team platform. They actually have an option for the single agent now.
Yes.
That it gives you just about all the same functionality. There's a few things that you don't have the functionality of, but you don't have a team, so you don't need it. And then it allows you to grow. So as you add agents, they just hit you for a little extra money on it. So to ask me the cost of that stuff though, I have no idea. I don't get into the sales stuff over there. I'm just really good at utilizing their system.
Yeah, and if you guys want to communicate, because this, I don't like to make these discussions that like obviously Lance is an expert at what he does. He works for the company, we know, but feel free to reach out to us and we can put you in touch if anybody wants to do a little bit digging deeper in that and kind of seeing what's out there. But I do recommend shopping around, just see what things do, right?
Hey, Jeff, let's close things out so people who need to leave, who have appointments and things can, and then after that we can stay on for questions.
Excellent. So 11 o'clock, we time block 10 to 11. So I will stay on and we will stay here with Lance a little bit if everybody wants to, but I know everybody time blocks. So from here on out, we appreciate you coming today. Thank you so much. But if you guys want to hang out and ask more questions, I already talked to Lance this morning. He's got a little time. we'll keep this running a little bit, but this will be more the question and answer period. So if you guys want to stay, love to have you. We'll be on for a little bit more, but the meat of it's just happened. Thanks for coming. Obviously appreciate you, Lance. Thanks for doing this for us, but we're going to hang out and continue. So again, question and answers now, but if you need to take off, we get it. We time block, but I think I knew this was going to be a lot of stuff today, and I knew we'd go over a little bit. So let's continue with question and answers.
Well, and I want to really quick too is, I mean, like, hey, sure, if you want to use Sync, I don't make any extra what system you use. I'd still just say, if the system that you're looking at does everything that you want it to do and you're going to do it, pick that system. I mean, don't go remortgaging your house to try to just get the Cadillac system until you're at that point in your business.
Right. Sandy.
So just bottom line, you were talking about placing your contacts in the CRM. Well, so you just put anybody and everybody into the CRM? I mean, I feel a little strange about that because it's almost like spamming them.
I put anybody that I have a relationship with in mind. Now, adding in, I do a lot of paid advertisement that brings people in as well. But, as far as for everything else, though, I mean, all my friends, they're all in there. As far as spamming them, this is where you've got to pay attention to what you're sending them, right? You got to make sure you're sending them something valuable. I know a lot of systems, they have these drip campaigns that go out and, they got like long-term nurture. Well, if you put me on one of those, you're probably going to see me unsubscribe because it's not valuable to me, right? So the whole idea is to get me in your system, and then maybe you have me set up on a monthly property search that once a month I get pictures of some houses or what's going on, a market value, but everything has to have a call to action that drives them back to a site that they can view homes on. And, so that's where that valuable piece comes, right? It's kind of like a billboard. You can drive down the same street thousands of times that has the same billboard on there, but if that billboard doesn't mean anything to you, you're going to drive right past it. But the second that you need the dentist or the lawyer,
car or whatever, yes.
Yeah, right. All of a sudden you're like, wow, where'd that billboard come from? It's just the way our conscious works and we notice it. So, the whole idea is just to stay top of mind. At least once a month, they're getting some kind of a valuable email from you. Maybe it's just a newsletter that just talks about what's going on in your life and the real estate market life.
And you can always, you can bring people into this system, you can take them out, and then you can put them back in. I mean, my goodness, it's not like, we always say, trust, you can't break these CRMs. If my team,
I would say bring them in, don't take them out, just turn off all automation.
Just don't turn off the automation. Don't contact them as much, but leave them in there. I mean, there's ways around it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Julie, I'm guessing you're kind of new or just kind of slowly kind of getting the people in there, and you've got a whole bunch of data, it sounds like. So I would add a handful of people.
I'm not slow getting them in there. Let's back up the bus. I don't have one. I have no CRM at this point. I've been trying to put people into my Google Sheets.
Oof.
And now I just have boxes.
What I would do is add a few. Go through, set them up how you want them set up. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get them set up, and then your next few that you add, you're going to be like, dang it, I want to do this.
I want you or Jeff, he's my work husband, to tell me what to do. And I don't like to be bossed around, but I'm begging for it. I don't know which one to use.
I mean, I'm all for scheduling another call if we want to, Jeff, and kind of go through some one-on-one with it.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I don't like to be the middleman, so I've known Lance forever, and I can share, because I wouldn't necessarily share Lance's information out to 4,000 people, but with this, if somebody wants to talk to you, I'm all about getting out of the middle thing. And like I said, Lance I consider Lance a pretty good friend of mine in the real estate business across the country. And I know he would be honest and say, hey, there's a lot of great ones out here. Here's what we do. This may or may not be for you. Or I know these systems, because Lance said, he's used, right, like 6 or 7 or 8 of them, right? in your career. So have we. So we have an idea. There's a lot of great systems out there. So you just got to kind of tailor it and fit it to what I'll come up with a sheet that has a lot of stuff on it. But if you guys want to hook up together, I'll
Well, I was
share
gonna say,
your
if prior
information.
to hooking up, if you want to kind of send me what your options were that you're kind of thinking about, so I can make sure I go through and then we can just kind of discuss pros and cons on all of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Questions? Veronica, Beverly, Jess, Cindy, Lucy, any questions for Lance?
I have something unrelated.
That's okay. Fire away.
So I started, I don't know where I heard this, but I started looking at the hot sheet. Was it you?
Maybe, I don't know.
Brought up hot sheets. So I started looking up hot sheets in the mornings. And today I noticed, because I missed the last couple of days, but today I noticed there were quite a few open door homes up that were listed. Has anyone else noticed that? Is Open Door kind of just starting to release their inventory?
I don't know. I haven't seen, I mean, I've gotten more, I'm on the Open Door text or email platform. So I get the stuff they're saying. What are you seeing in, I mean, Open Door's been kind of crazy. I know OfferPad released a lot of its staff. What do you see there in Nashville, Lance?
I mean, Open Doors in our market. I mean, every neighborhood I go through and I'll see them, but I mean, it's not like they have a big
Giant presence.
No.
What is it? I don't even know what it is.
Open Doors, big national brokerages buying up and sell homes all over the country. They probably bought some in Kingman.
So they buy, I don't want to say they buy homes on the cheap, but their whole concept is we make it easy. They go in and they buy the house from the person.
Cheap.
Yes, usually cheap. Occasionally, if they're new getting into the development, they'll overpay on a couple of them just to try to get the comps up. But I feel like that's kind of bit them in the butt over the last couple of years.
Especially this last year.
Yeah, and then, and then the whole concept with that is you don't have to be a real estate agent to go in and look at their houses.
You do not.
So you just so a consumer can sign up on their website and they will give them access to the house to go in. I mean, we've done a handful of doors with them, but quite honestly, I mean, everything that we've done have been no different than if you and I were in the same market working together. So I don't really, I see Open Door all the time, and we've lost a couple of sellers to them because they needed to move that quick. But we've actually taken some sellers and pushed them to Open Door.
Sometimes it's valuable. Yes, correct. I agree.
Because we're still getting paid.
You're still getting paid, right? Exactly right.
And it's just like we have one, he's a musician and he's got thousands of dollars in equipment, and we just know how he is, and we're like, your house is never going to be able to be shown to the public. Why don't we do this? So we went to Open Door and said, hey, what offer will you give us? And it was a great offer, and we got our commission that was built all into that. So we're set to close next month on that one.
Yep.
And Open Door can turn around and resell it.
And maybe Open Door gave him a decent deal, or maybe it was a little light, but it
was a little light,
but he didn't have to show the home, and he protected his stuff.
That's it, and that's how we spun it. So
yes.
We actually took it to Open Door. So I like it. I mean, we actually with Commissions Inc. had a deal set up with Open Door for a while for cash offers.
Yeah.
So you can utilize Open Door for things like that. So
yep.
So to Veronica's point, I haven't heard anything about Open Door recently that they've had some big release or anything like that, but I'll definitely do some research. And Veronica, if you hear anything, please let us know.
Yeah. Any other questions? I mean, the nice thing with Lance is he's an agent just like us. He's in the Nashville, Tennessee market. So it's always neat to chat with agents in other markets because, we do a lot of stuff similar, but we'll do stuff completely different. It doesn't make it right or wrong. And, sometimes what's good for one or what's happening in one market does not happen in another. So thanks, Cindy.
Sonic's got over 2,000 ways to make a drink.
Right.
Right.
I just had a comment because I was just picking up some highlights of what you and Lance were talking about. And one of the things that was mentioned, it was mentioned in a slightly different way, but it was fortune is in the follow-up. And I 100% agree with that. The next thing is relating to AI and something that Lance had said. So AI is just a bot that we have or that there is in some CRMs, and this bot will communicate and say certain things to try and get the attention of somebody that's in your CRM that came through the portal, right? And what Lance said was super interesting is this bot was designed to say the things that we may be uncomfortable saying. And I think that is so interesting because in this business, every time I'm sitting in a class or a mastermind, I hear the people in the crowd or the presenter say, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's interesting that now we have to have this AI bot speaking on behalf, suggesting things that we're uncomfortable, communicating with our clients to get them to respond to us. So I guess the moral to that story is be comfortable being uncomfortable, and then you don't need the AI.
Yeah, I mean, you're 1,000% right with that one.
The next thing, the final two thoughts are this: is Lance mentioned that he speaks to his clients in a specific way, giving them exactly what they want. Everybody wants to know about the market, and everybody wants to see homes. So if you're ever curious as to what to say, maybe start there, right?
Hard to go wrong with that one.
Right. Anyway, thank you, Lance. That was insightful, and it's always good to hear from an expert in the industry.
Yeah, we love it. And I mean, it's those questions. I mean, and we do a conversion day. And what have you heard about the national one that we do now once a month?
Yeah, Chris just told us about it.
So it's a 4-hour class with a 1-hour power hour on it, talking about what to say, right? So I mean, there's really the key components on a CRM. One, knowing how to put the notes in there and utilize it, setting up the automation, but then what do we say on the phone whenever we get them on the phone, right? And those are those 3 keys that say what makes us better than the rest. And I think what prompted this, I just got out of a mastermind in New Orleans with 30 of the top real estate agents around the country that are all utilizing the Sync platform. And it was funny when you look at the number of transactions in that room, it was mind blowing. And it was all the same commonality: the times of the day that they make phone calls, how they are at making their follow-up. So they're all time blocked. Every day we do this. Every day we do this. Most people don't really take time off, like a day or anything like that. They do their stuff, and then they go do some of their personal stuff, and then they come back and do a little real estate, and then they do their personal stuff. They kind of bounce around. I mean, yeah, they still all take their 2 normal days off a week, but this doesn't have to be an 80-hour, 100-hour a week business anymore.
Right. Yeah. So Chris told us about that, and that's with obviously Sync, that's included. There's no charge for that. And he said, there's a lot of stuff people do, and you're always inundated with all these things, and you got to just kind of filter out what's important to you. But he's like, wow, he goes, dude, I try to sit on all these, and I'm on most of them. And he's like, that last one was just cheddar. He's like, there was so many good little tidbits that he was going to get the recording and send it to us so we'd have it. But he's like, if you guys do anything, I'd highly recommend, once a month, just jumping on that call and seeing what people are doing, all the new industry trends. And I'm sure a lot of other people do the same thing, but this is a great thing Sync does. So. Yep.
Yeah. It's a good stuff. They do them every other Monday. And then that big 4-hour one is once a month. So if you do the community.com, you can see it.
Yep.
And I think they even have it open to outsiders as well. So
yes. Yep. I love that too. That is the way to go. That's what we've always preached on our team. It's share everything.
To me, and again, I mean, I know somebody that said, it sounds like, this might be a Sync call. It's not. I don't care what system you're using, as long as you're using it, and how can I help you be more proficient with it?
Right. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like brokerages. No one cares. Just be with one you like that's working for you. We don't care who you work with. We just like you. It doesn't matter.
I've been through a handful of them over my years, and none of them have made a difference in my transactions that I do. It's me. I'm the one that makes the difference in the transactions that I do from one place to the next.
There you go. Well said. All right. I think we'll wrap it up with that. Lance, appreciate you, my friend. When are you in Phoenix next?
November.
Okay. You want to have breakfast at Harlow's in Tempe again?
Let me, we'll do something, but let me figure out my travel
You got it.
and, but yeah, we'll actually, now that we know early in advance, instead of like, hey, I'll be there tomorrow.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Yeah, we'll definitely get
right.
some set up, because I don't know, Jenny doesn't have the hotel. I feel like we're not doing it at the Buttes this time
Gotcha.
because they're already booked up, so. I
Gotcha.
gotta
All right.
figure out where we're gonna be.
Well, we'll touch base, and if we need to bring you on in the future for another kind of wrap up with this, depends on how everybody feels about this. We'd love to have you back. Appreciate your time. I know you're
I'm
busy.
here. Yeah, and if anybody wants to tie out with some extra conversations and stuff like that.
I'll share your
And
stuff
do-
with them. No worries.
Yep.
Yep. All right, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Appreciate you. Thanks, Lance. We'll
Thank you
chat
all.
a bit. Thanks, buddy.